In this video, we're going to go over the most precise metabolic study ever done on metabolic adaptation. Why do people get stuck in fat loss plateaus? Why do people spin their wheels, not able to lose the weight after decreasing calories and increasing cardio and still no changes with visceral body fat? We're going to unleash it all. I'm going to show you in this video what's really going on behind the scenes with your body, the problem with metabolic adaptation, why people are experiencing severe metabolic adaptation, and then we're going to go through the actual issues itself and how to solve the actual problem of metabolic adaptation with metabolic priming. And then we're going to go through a case study on how it works and how you can actually improve metabolic function within the next few weeks using an actual case study with one of my clients right here who got absolutely shredded using our metabolic priming blueprint. So we're going to go through a lot of really good scientific data behind metabolic priming, behind metabolic adaptation, behind the overall body itself, and understanding metabolism at a very high level, because I think it's important for everybody who does watch my channel to understand metabolism at a high level, because it is the main reason why a lot of people will get stuck in fat loss plateaus, because they don't know how to pre-nurture and culture their metabolism to a certain point to continue fat loss. And once you understand metabolic adaptation, once you understand the metabolism in full, you have a lot more control over fat loss, body composition, how you feel, how you look, and it's very important to understand. So if you guys don't know me by now, my name's Adam Bundle. I'm an online metabolic specialist, and I specialize in the manipulation of cellular metabolism through a process called metabolic priming. I've worked with almost 400 plus men online, getting them to next level lean physiques. We've lost thousands and thousands of pounds with our clients over the years. And then today we're going to kind of unveil a lot of the great things that we've utilized within our clients, and we're actually going to give you some good takeaways as well. So make sure to stick around toward the end of the video. But anyways, let's get right into the video. Let's get into what the problem really is with metabolic adaptation and understanding metabolic adaptation in a full. So I would say 95% of the guys who come to me have been in a low carb diet or a low calorie deficit for an extended period of time. This is where metabolic adaptation starts to occur. So potential metabolic slowdown in low-carb diets. Severely restricting carbohydrates can lead to a decrease in resting metabolic rate in some individuals, particularly those on very low-calorie, low-carbohydrate diets. According to Rush University Medical Center, this is thought to be a protective mechanism by the body to conserve energy during periods of perceived starvation. So metabolic adaptation, also known as adaptive thermogenesis, is a natural physiological response where the body reduces its metabolic rate, the number of calories burned at rest, in response to weight loss or calorie restriction. This adaptation helps the body conserve energy, making it harder to further lose weight, potentially leading to weight regain. So a lot of guys who came to me have been in low-carb diets, very low, extremely extensive low-carb diets. And what's happened over time is they've actually lowered their metabolic rate. They've lowered the resting metabolic rate, so their body is no longer burning calories at rest. So what happens during metabolic adaptation? Reduced energy expenditure, hunger, and cravings. I'm sure that you've experienced that before, where you go in pretty low calorie, low carbohydrate, and you've started to experience incredible cravings and sugar cravings. Hormone signal pathways that regulate appetite can be altered, leading to increased hunger and cravings. Potential for weight regain. The reduced resting metabolic rate and increased appetite can make it challenging to maintain weight, potentially leading to weight regain. So most people, actually, they did a study on this in the National Institute of Health. They say that 30% of people who lose 20 plus pounds actually keep it off. After 2 years, that number dwindles to 15%. So you start to think, it's like, well, we actually don't have a weight loss problem in today's society. We have a weight regain problem, and it's understanding the metabolism is what really is at fault. So metabolic adaptation is a survival mechanism that is involved to protect the body against starvation. It's the body's way of slowing down energy expenditure when it senses a decrease in calories. Impact on weight loss. This adaptation can make it more difficult to sustain weight loss because the body is burning fewer calories than expected for its new size. And so what it means by this is yes, as you lose weight, your body lowers the amount of calories it burns because you lower your weight in general. You don't need as much calories to sustain when you are down 20 pounds. But also on a deeper level, that doesn't make as big as an impact than the overall resting metabolic rate decrease. Yes, there's a small decrease in calories burned when you lose weight, but there's even a more significant decrease in calories burned at rest when your resting metabolic rate starts to decline. So hormones like leptin, which is the satiety hormone, thyroid hormones, and insulin are thought to play a role in mediating metabolic changes during weight loss. So metabolic adaptation can contribute to weight regain as the body tries to return to its previous weight. So also, I want to pull up this kind of structure analysis right here to understand this in full, so we can really understand what happens. So it's like when we start to lose weight, yes, we start to burn less calories because we weigh less. But what actually happens with our TDE actual is there's a direct correlation between the two. So you can see these data points right here. As you start to decrease in calories, your TDE actual starts to decrease as well. So what's happened over time with you is that as you've decreased your calories down to this 1800 calorie mark, your body is now burning less calories at rest. So even when it gets into exercise, right? Understanding exercise and metabolic adaptation with exercise is that the number of calories you burn during cardio exercise generally decreases over time as your body adapts to the training. This is because your body becomes more efficient at performing the activity, requiring less energy to do so. So as you consistently engage in specific cardio activity, your body adapts by improving cardiovascular function, muscle efficiency, and overall fitness, reduce calorie burn. Consequently, you burn fewer calories during a given cardio session as your body becomes more efficient at the activity. So, like, what we want to understand from an overall metabolic adaptation perspective is, one, as you decrease calories, your body just burns less calories. As you do more cardio, your body becomes more efficient at the cardio, burning less calories during the cardio. So a lot of guys who come to me in very low carb diets, low calorie diets, doing a lot of cardio, they've been pushed in their body to an absolute limit when now they've completely diminished all of their metabolism. And this is a severe problem that's happening in today's society with 95% of men that don't understand what's really going on with their body. We'll get on consultation calls with guys, and they'll be like, I don't know what's going on. I'm eating clean. I'm eating 1,800 calories. I'm doing 20, 35 minutes of cardio, but the weight just won't budge. It's because your body's adapted to it, and it's adapted over time. So how do we fix this? Metabolic priming, right? We have to rejuvenate the metabolism for fat loss. So metabolic priming refers to the process of manipulating cellular metabolism to enhance its function and efficiency, particularly in the context of fat loss or improving metabolic health. It can involve strategies like optimizing meal frequency and timing, focusing on protein intake, and engaging in regular resistance training to build and maintain muscle mass. In essence, it's about preparing the body's metabolism for a period of fat loss or increased activity by optimizing baseline function, okay? So optimizing metabolic function. Metabolic priming emphasizes building a strong metabolic foundation before embarking on a calorie deficit for fat loss. So it's about building the structure with metabolic priming before we go into a fat loss phase. And I'm going to show you how we do this. But it's the understanding of it in full is that if you are on a low-calorie diet and you try to push through that low-calorie diet before you optimize your metabolic function, you're basically putting your body in a state of metabolic purgatory where it's no longer burning calories at rest, and you've sufficiently down-regulated your metabolism. And now we start to run into cortisol issues because the cortisol is an actual hormone that is beneficial in the body for building muscle, yes, but it's incredibly detrimental in the body for fat loss. If you have raised levels of cortisol in your body will quite literally hang on to every last bit of body fat because it thinks that it is starving. So it wants to hang on to body fat so that it has excess energy in food times of starvation. So optimizing metabolic function. Metabolic priming emphasis building strong metabolic function. Why we want to understand that is how do we build a strong metabolic function? We build good muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is highly metabolic. The more muscle tissue you have, the higher your metabolism is. So methods of metabolic priming. Gradual calorie increase. Slowly increasing calorie intake, even though by a small amount, can help the body adjust and avoid triggering drastic metabolic slowdown. So high glycemic diet. And so in certain scenarios, a diet higher in carbohydrates, especially around workouts, can support muscle glycogen replenishment and improve performance. So we utilize higher glycemic carbohydrates within our clients, like white rice, creamy rice, fruit, and like it's going to not only help with digestive-related purposes because it's going to digest faster, but it's going to digest quicker. And so it aids in not only the rejuvenation of your metabolism, but it also aids in actual muscle building, okay? And then optimizing non-exercise energy activity, right? Increasing daily movement and activity leads to also contribute to metabolic priming and overall energy expenditure, right? So applications of metabolic priming can help individuals prepare the metabolism for a calorie deficit, making it easier to lose fat without experiencing a significant metabolic slowdown. So how do we position all of this into understanding the metabolism, right? So at a higher level, this is how your metabolism is broken down. 70% is your BMR, calories burned by your body at rest. NEAT, non-energy activity thermogenesis, calories burned by remaining active through the day, like walking. And then thermic effect of food, calories burned by digesting your food. And then right here, check this out. 5% of your total calories is burned during exercise. So 95% of how you burn calories isn't even during exercise. It's optimizing metabolic function. And so if we pull up this pie chart right here and understand where we could actually optimize the metabolism, as we understand right here, increasing daily movement activity leads to contribute in metabolic priming overall energy expenditure, we can understand that using that 15% of your non-energy activity thermogenesis, we can put steps in clients' plans to keep them moving. And then carbohydrates and utilizing carbohydrates influence energy levels, which psychologically makes people move more. Carbs, the body's primary source of energy, meaning adequate carb intake can support higher levels of increased non-energy activity thermogenesis. And then getting into metabolic rate, right? Is understanding carbohydrates in full. So carbohydrates support bodily functions, BMR. Makes up 70% of your metabolism, body's main fuel source, and understanding that we transition all of our clients into a carbohydrate metabolism state. So transitioning the body to a carbohydrate metabolism can offer several benefits, including providing ready available energy, supporting brain function, and aiding in weight management. It also plays a crucial role in exercise performance, particularly during high intensity activities. So, like, as we know, is that 60-70% of your metabolism is your BMR. It's the biggest driving factor in overall fat loss. And so utilizing higher carbohydrate diets like carbohydrate metabolism, we can support brain function, we can support bodily functions, we can support thinking, blood flow, because all of these essential body functions are correlated to carbohydrates. Brain function, increased exercise performance, right? Metabolic flexibility. And what metabolic flexibility means is the body is more able to switch between using carbohydrates and fats for energy and having a more metabolically flexible profile, right? Because think about this. It's like you want to be versatile when it comes to your metabolism. When you're on a low-carb diet or a keto diet or a carnivore diet, your body becomes less metabolically flexible because it's optimizing for a fat source, right? It's not optimizing for a carbohydrate source where it's going to be beneficial for overall metabolic flexibility. So we want to understand that it's more beneficial from an overall sustainability perspective to have more metabolic flexibility. And so, like, understanding metabolic rate even on a different expert level and more scientific level, getting enough carbs can lower reverse T3. Not eating enough carbs, it will increase it, thus blocking the important work of T3. So T3 is basically the active thyroid hormone. The amount of carbohydrates you eat is directly a key factor in regulating T3 production, right? So high carb diets are associated with higher T3 levels, while low carb diets are associated with lower T3 levels. So that's how we optimize the metabolism, through carbohydrate metabolism, eating a higher carb diet. So now that we know all of this, how do we fix this, okay? So obviously we don't talk about metabolic priming, which is slowly increasing the calories. Yes, we want to do that. We want to slowly increase these calories. So if we were to draw a line like through right here, our goal with each one of our clients is to slowly increase metabolic rate as we increase food expenditure, utilizing carbohydrates so we can get the most benefit out of just one, metabolic flexibility, but also the most benefit out of muscle building, out of calories burned at rest. And our goal is to get these as high as possible, okay? So this is how it works, right? We're going to show you how it works with our clients, but I want to give you a couple important notes to remember when you're doing this yourself. Most important notes is that weight is a vanity metric, right? Weight doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to metabolic priming because our goal is to raise metabolic rate. And in all contexts, like, weight doesn't always correlate to increasing fat. Weight, sometimes you increase muscle tissue, which can cause an uptick on the scale. And we need to understand that weight is a vanity metric. We have a lot of clients that come to us that gain weight but get leaner, right? Because most people, all men, you listen to this right now, you don't give a shit about your weight. You give a shit about how you look. And if you were the same weight right now, and I was to snap my fingers, you'd be six-pack shredded, looking good, feeling good, having the energy where you had when you were 20 again, would you really give a damn what the scale said? No, not at all. People want to look good. And if you want to look good, you have to understand that it's not all about the weight on the scale. It's about fat loss, not weight loss. Macros are king. So we track macros, right? Protein, carbs, and fats. And this is just a pull-up of one of our clients' daily goals that he has. we track protein, carbs, and fats. All right, we track them down to the gram. So you can see how close our clients get with tracking these macros. And I know it might seem like, oh, that sounds extremely difficult. Well, we make it extremely simple for them to follow. We write everything out for them and do everything for them. But this is the most important thing, because when you dial in macronutrients to the gram like this, you have more flexibility over how you look. You have more control of how you look. Calories affect your weight, right? If you were to eat more calories than your body is ready to eat, you'll gain weight. Less, you're in a calorie deficit. But macronutrients are how you physically look, right? So we track macronutrients. And micronutrients are how you feel. But anyways, we track macronutrients. And so it's important to note that we hit all these specific to the gram. So with our clients, we tell them, it's like, we don't care about these calories. Like, we don't track calories. It doesn't matter to us. This number can be completely just not even available for us. We don't care about that. We care about tracking protein, carbs, and fats. Because when you're trying to hit protein, carbs, and fats specific to the gram, that's one, you might go over on calories because of insoluble fibers and sugar alcohols, but we want to understand is that getting between 1 to 3 grams of these macronutrients is where you're going to see the most physical body composition changes. And then in most cases, if you hit the macronutrients perfectly, you might go over on calories. And so we just track macronutrients. We tell our clients, forget about the calories. And I know it sounds contradictory to what you always have heard, but it's, the proof's in the pudding. Our results are there. We don't track we don't track calories. We track macronutrients. Okay, so very big key point. But anyways, the 3 outcomes that we usually see out of the metabolic priming phase are this right here. So this is my client Darren. He's a business owner. This was his metabolic priming phase right here, right this far. So you can notice that when we started to add carbohydrates into his diet and structure into carbohydrate metabolism state, he lost a lot of weight very quickly, and he started to come up a little bit, right? This is very typical. What's happening is he's actually gaining muscle tissue. But once we hit an actual fat loss phase, that's when he's seeing all this coming down, right? So that's scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is my client Seth right here. He's 58 pounds down in this crazy side-by-side. He, on the other hand, had just came straight down the entire time. So this is his metabolic priming phase right here. So notice with Seth, he actually was increasing calories. I think he got up almost 1,500 calories, but still losing weight. Then when we hit an actual fat loss phase, that's when it all started to come off even more, right? That's when the fat started to come off even more. And then we have the third case scenario, which we're about to show you right now, my client Joe. So Joe actually increased weight as we went through the metabolic priming phase. Well, what we were doing here, we were actually just gaining muscle tissue and losing body fat. And then once he hit the actual fat loss phase, that's when he came back down. So these are the 3 scenarios that we want to note. So because like I said, it's not always about like your weight. All right. So how do we put this in an active concept? And let me show you what it looks like side by side. So this is where Joe came to us, and I actually want to show you. I want you to hear from Joe himself on where he was at and like his time and duration through what I'm about to show you.
I think I'm up to like 3,000 calories now per day. I think the abs showing. So it's crazy to see what I have going on right now. I've been an athlete for my entire life, even when I ran track when I was in college. And still the shocking part is where I'm at weight wise and physicality wise. Like, this is what I look like now without a shirt on. It's the craziest thing. I tried everything. I tried keto. I tried doing a little bit of carnivore, done a couple of different, programs that I've come across on like Instagram and stuff like that I've tried. And just kind of plateaued out and forth. So you take a much more hands-on approach with that. Like I said, that's been really the biggest key in comparison to other programs that I've done in the past. I've said it, and I'll probably continue to say, just thank you for what you've done, because it's been huge.
So obviously with Joe, he's tried other online programs before. And the thing about it is that like a lot of online coaches, a lot of online programs don't understand metabolic adaptation. They don't understand metabolic science. And that's why a lot of clients who come to us came from other programs saying, oh, I got super low in calories, just got stuck, kind of spin my wheels, because they take a very lazy approach to fat loss. Us, on the other hand, when we understand metabolic adaptation, we understand your metabolism and how your metabolism works, and understand that only 5% of how you burn calories is with your exercise, we have way more control and way more predictability out of our clients' success. So when Joe came to us, he was already at 193. 1,700 calories had just came from a previous online coach. And so we needed to, first of all, restructure his macronutrients. And so this was the overall goal for Joe right here. First of all, we cut his cardio to zero because, as we mentioned above, in metabolic adaptation is that, after you do cardio for a while, it doesn't have the exact same stimulus because metabolic adaptation occurs, you burn less calories. And so we needed to cut all the cardio to zero to resensitize cardio. Next is we had to get him out of this low carb diet, right? And so you can kind of see his metabolism was pretty crashed. And a lot of guys will come to me, it's like, well, how do you know where your metabolism is without doing actual blood work? Well, I don't need blood work to know that he had crashed his metabolism. If he's eating 1,700 calories and he's no longer losing weight, his body looking highly fatigued, what he needs a metabolic rejuvenation. And you can see in these photos just off the start that he looks just highly inflamed. His gut's kind of hanging a little bit. His back is just like nice and soft. And so what we did is we actually restructured his macronutrients for carbohydrate metabolism. That's the first thing that we did. We actually started him 300 calories above where he was currently at. So we started him at like 2,100 calories. And I want you to see what we actually did within this process and how simple this is. So he checks in every single week with his weight, his body composition, how he feels, how he looks, his hunger levels, his stress levels, his cortisol levels, his gym sessions, how they went, and we make data-driven adjustments based upon all those key hormonal factors, okay? So you understand hunger. When you understand cortisol, you understand that, you can take and pull certain calories away to rejuvenate and therefore mitigate any hunger or mitigate any cortisol. And so it's kind of like pulling strings, right? When our clients check in, we check in exactly where their hormones lie, and we make data-driven adjustments based upon that. So with that being said, it's like we don't change macronutrients every single week. So you'll see as we go on is that some weeks we make changes, some weeks we don't. But it's important to note that look at the changes we did make. 25 grams of carbohydrates, 25 grams of carbohydrates, right? And we're going to go through this until we hit the top end of the metabolic priming phase for him. All we did, and we raised a little bit of protein, the 15 grams, but really all we did was raise carbohydrates. And you can see even as he starts to get pretty up in calories, up to 3,000 calorie mark, we could get a little bit more aggressive with the carbohydrates, right? So watch how body reacts in these next 2 weeks, then start cut soon. So why I said that is that we can kind of see he's getting to the top end. Usually when you get to the top end of metabolic priming phase, it's when you're around 3,000 calories, about 300 to 400 grams of carbohydrates, and then your body composition starts to not look, I don't want to say watery, but it looks a little bit more full, right? What I mean by that is like, notice right here on his side shots, these 2 weeks right here, he's a little bit of water retention right there. That's good. That means we're hitting the top end of the metabolic priming phase. And so what we did is we started to cut. But he's at 3,000 calories, and he's starting to get abs already because we've built the structure like we had talked about. Muscle tissue is 4 times as metabolic as body fat. 15% body fat at 150 versus 15% body fat at 180 is 2 completely different looks. So now, keep in context, he's at 3,000 calories. He's at 202 pounds, right? So he's up a little bit in weight, yes, but look at the actual structural change in his body composition. Does he look better? Abso-freaking-lutely, right? And that's the whole goal, is that we want him to look better. Now, the goal is, once we do get calories under our belt, his metabolism is optimized, now we can start a little bit of cardio, because cardio has a newfound stimulus, right? And now we can lower a little bit of food. Raise a little bit of cardio, lower a little bit of food. But we have to watch out for this because this metabolic adaptation is going to occur. We know that. And it's going to lower your metabolism ever so slightly. So we have to keep in mind that there's a line right here that as we change calories down, that it's going to lower your metabolism a little bit as well, right? And we know that. And you'll see as we go on how I mitigate this. So as we go down, we lower food, a little bit of less protein, a little bit less fat, raise cardio. Four times a week, 25 minutes. We raised that to 5 minutes, 35 times. Add a little bit of steps. We gave a refeed, okay? So what a refeed will do when you're in a fat loss phase is a refeed will temporarily adjust this metabolism up, right? So let's take it in context. If we were to put this line right here and we give our client a refeed, like a 2,600 calorie refeed, it brings your metabolism up ever so slightly, and then you can bring that actual food intake down a little bit, and there'll be a little bit more of a correlated adjustment to your actual metabolism. So it'll kind of look like this, right? So your food intake will be a little bit lower, but your metabolism will be a little bit higher. In that context, we can, with the structured refeeds, we can rejuvenate and fix cortisol issues. We can give a little bit more energy for cardio, and we can also reduce a lot of inflammation with those refeeds as well. So that's the importance of refeeds, because we talked about within carbohydrates how there's direct correlation to your thyroid hormone as carbohydrates. So giving us clients that slight little refeed gives us a little bit of boost in overall thyroid hormones as well. But it also keeps our hunger levels where they need to be. So as you go on, same thing. We did another refeed right here, added 2K steps after that. So you'll notice is that when I do a refeed with my clients, in a lot of cases, I'll do a refeed and then drop calories. Because like I said, what I'm trying to do right here is I'm trying to give a slight refeed, keep the metabolism a bit higher, and alter this just ever so slightly to where our calories are a little bit lower, but our metabolism is a little bit higher. And this is how we basically mitigate any type of fat loss plateaus. And then we did this refeed, lowered food again, lowered food. And you can just tell once we get back down to like that 2,000 calorie mark, how incredibly freaking lean he's getting. We were like mind blown. We're like, oh yeah, we are money. This is money. And then we continued on. We actually reduced cardio. And I know you're thinking is like, well, why do you want to reduce cardio? Is because when you're in a fat loss phase, it's more logical to reduce cardio to reduce inflammation for a week straight rather than giving a refeed when you're under 2,000 calories. Because when your calories are really low, a refeed has a lot bigger, significant impact, right? So we reduce cardio, we can reduce inflammation for a little bit, let the body rest a little bit more, and not have to give a huge refeed. Because you can always raise cardio back up, but you can't uneat food. Right. And so we did a minus cardio a little bit, wait till his body kind of relaxed a little bit. And already, it's like we reduced cardio on 4/14. All right. I want you to keep this in context. We reduced cardio and we just added a little bit of steps in its place. So 35 minutes, 5 times a week, and we added a little bit of cardio. But look at the changes and how lean he got within these 2-week time period. Boom. Absolutely crazy shredded. Because we reduced a lot of inflammation, right? And now he's 18 pounds down. He's absolutely shredded, and he's even built more muscle tissue, right? So now we're back up right here. So we're at 35 minutes of cardio. Our metabolism's probably lowered over time a little bit. He is damn shredded. But what do we do now? Well, we do use metabolic priming again to rejuvenate his metabolism for sustainability, right? So what we'll do is we'll cut cardio in half, and then we'll slightly raise the food. And then we'll wait till his body calms down, adjust a little bit, raise the cardio back to 0, and we'll raise the food intake again, right? And Joe's still working with us. Joe's been a long-time client of us, and he's still absolutely shredded. He's eating, I think, 2,600 calories as of right now, and he's still shredded because, we understand for sustainability purposes, you have to culture the metabolism, re-nurture the metabolism after a fat loss phase. Where most people go wrong is after the fat loss phase, they'll get lean and they'll gain all the weight back because they don't understand that there's a transitionary period to getting your body back to where it actually was, burning calories. Because let's think about this. When you're at 2,000 calories, guys, and you add calories to, let's say, 2,600, that's a 600 calorie increase. 6 times 7 is 42. That's 4,200 calories more per week. Obviously, you're going to gain weight. But if you're at 1,800 calories and you're in a severe calorie deficit and you raise it just 200 and then wait 2 weeks, you're only, 2 times 7, 1,400 calories per week, a little bit more. Next week, your body adjusts a little bit. You give it 200 calories more. That's what it looks like. Most people don't understand, and why people can't keep the weight off is they'll be at 1,800 calories. They're like, oh, finally, I'm done with this cut. Boom, they'll just go back to 3,000 calories. Or they'll just stop tracking everything in general. They'll just forget about tracking everything in general. They'll just go back to do how they were eating before. And that's the reason why they just gain all the way back. There is a rejuvenation process after the cut that's even more important than the cut itself, because if you don't do it correctly, you'll gain it right back. But overall, I want you guys to understand metabolic priming, metabolic adaptation, and why there's a significant amount of the male population that cannot keep weight off. And it's because they don't understand the manipulation of cellular metabolism and the study on metabolic adaptation and the downregulation of your metabolism. So if you like these type of videos, like, comment, and subscribe. If you are somebody who's been struggling with this for a while and you just want this written out for you, just step by step, you're just way too damn busy to try to do this all yourself, and you just don't really understand the full concept, you're not confident that you can do it yourself, There's going to be a time down below. You can sign up for a time. We'll jump on a call with our team. We'll see if it's a great fit for you to work together. And we'll run you through exactly what it looks like for you. We'll run you through what's missing, why you're stuck, the problems that you've been facing up until now, and we'll add an elite amount of clarity to exactly why you've been stuck and how you can get out of it. But if you're somebody who just wants to stop by and learn more about, your metabolism and a little bit about the high-level strategies, then, check out my page. But keeping the context, I do keep 90% of what I post on this YouTube channel for my clients, right? For the respect out of them. So it's like, yes, you'll make great progress out of this, but like those little tiny data-driven adjustments, the 20% that you're actually missing maybe out of your plan could keep you stuck forever. And I don't mean that to be rude. It's just the fact is that I work with 150 guys who trust me and put all of their faith into me. And the last thing I want to do is disregard their trust and disregard what they say by putting all the information I give them out on the internet. And so if you like these type of videos, like, comment, subscribe, but I'll see you guys next time.